Recognizing the Minister of Forests.
Very much, Madam Speaker. Thanks for the opportunity to be able to rise in this House and provide my remarks on behalf of the people of Langford Highlands to budget 2026. Before I do, Madam Speaker, I do want to take an opportunity, being that it's my first time rising in the House outside a question period, to take the opportunity to offer my sincerest condolences to the people of Tumbler Ridge. We're a province that had a day of mourning on the day of the throne speech, but I think it's fair to say that we're all still in mourning over what happened. An absolute tragedy. I've gotten the opportunity to get to know the mayor. He was meeting with me just at the Natural Resources Forum just a couple of weeks ago and gave me a hard time for not stopping by Tumbler Ridge on my last visit to the Northeast. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to visiting that beautiful community for the first time later this year. But to the mayor, to the MLA for Peace River South, who has shown outstanding leadership given the challenges that he has faced representing that community over the course of the last couple of weeks. I want to thank them both for their leadership. There's often been a lot of talk of the leadership of the Premier, Leader of the Opposition, as well as the Prime Minister and other provincial and national leaders, but the folks that are truly working on the ground 24/7, is the MLA for Peace River South. It is the Mayor and the Council and the First Nations and the leaders in those communities. They live those tragedies day by day. And so again, on behalf of the people of Langford Highlands, I want to offer my deepest condolences to the families of those lost and to the entire community as they continue to mourn what truly was a tragedy. I also want to take the opportunity as we begin a new legislative session to once again thank the people of Langford Highlands for the opportunity, the real gift that I get to be able to represent their perspectives and their points of view in this beautiful chamber. It truly is a gift, coming on 3 years of getting the opportunity to be able to rise in this House, whether it's speaking to a budget, the throne speech, or legislation. It is a true gift to be able to rise in this House and to be able to represent the perspectives of Langford Highlands. It was Langford Juan de Fuca, now Langford Highlands, Madam Speaker, a riding that is facing considerable challenges with growth, but lots of opportunities and success that I'm looking forward to diving into as I provide my remarks to Budget 2026. I think as the Minister of Finance acknowledged, and I want to thank her for her leadership. I want to thank the Ministry of Finance for the work that they've been doing over the course of the last number of months in preparing for Budget 2026. Budget 2026 is a very serious budget. It's a serious budget for very serious times. And I want to take an opportunity I don't get 2 hours, so in the 27 minutes that I have to be able to speak today, Madam Speaker, the opportunity to talk about what's happening in our world and how that impacts us here in British Columbia. I think it's important for us to recognize that we are a subnational government. There are lots of challenges and opportunities that exist in British Columbia, but I think if there's something that we've learned over the course of the last year, is we are impacted by all of the global players around us. I think it's fair to say, Madam Speaker, that we live in a world filled with extreme and divisive views. And we just have to look at the course of the last year, the actions of Donald Trump. President Trump came into office, and not only has he wreaked havoc on British Columbians and all Canadians, but people around the world. His attack on our working people, whether in forestry, auto and steel and aluminum, core sectors to our economy in Canada, but specifically forestry here in British Columbia, has been absolutely devastating to communities in every corner of this province. Hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs that are on the line because of a president that has gone forward and raised softwood lumber duties, and also has called our softwood lumber a national security risk, and has added Section 232 tariffs on top of that, which I expect will be in front of the courts if they're not already. The world has changed, Madam Speaker, over the course of the last year, and not only has he attacked our working people, but he has attacked our sovereignty. He has talked about making Canada the 51st state. If there's something that has brought us together as Canadians, outside of those that believe that they want to join the United States, which is a little bit of a movement we're seeing in Alberta right now that I hope gets stopped very quickly, is we are proud Canadians from coast to coast to coast. And we're going to fight for our people. We're going to fight for this beautiful country we call home. I am a son of immigrants who made the decision to immigrate here to Canada. I am proud to be a Canadian. I'm proud to be a resident of Langford. And we're going to work very hard over the course of the next number of years in our time in office, in our time in government, to ensure that we continue standing up for working people. But I think it's fair to say, Madam Speaker, that over the course of the last year, British Columbians have seen a new world order. And the Prime Minister spoke about this in a speech in Davos just a couple of weeks ago. Every government of every political stripe is trying to figure out what's next. How do we protect our people? How do we protect our sovereignty? Imagine that we're not just Canadians, but imagine if we're the people of Greenland right now. And it was just a couple of weeks ago where the President was actively talking about invading another country. These are scary times, Madam Speaker. I was out on the doorstep just a couple of weeks ago in my community of Langford. I was door knocking in the Bear Mountain neighborhood, and overwhelmingly, I heard from people. And we talked about challenges, whether it's accessing health care, making sure we have more schools, but overwhelmingly, the message that I heard from my residents in my community is they're scared. They're scared of what's happening. They're scared to put on the news at night. They're scared of what's happening in the United States and how it's impacting us as a country, it's impacting us as a province, and it's impacting our communities. I think it's right for all of us to have those conversations with our communities. And really, as we talk about Budget 2026, it is important for us to acknowledge that we live in very grave times. We're in the midst of a trade war with the United States. We are seeing the President reshape foreign policy, trade policy, that is impacting us as British Columbians, even though, Madam Speaker, because of the work that we've been doing over the course of the last number of years, and I would argue in the last number of decades, to diversify our trade, we are the least impacted province in the entire country. But we are impacted when it comes to forestry and a whole host of other sectors, when 70% of our forestry products, are destined across the U.S. border to help build the homes that Americans need. This is a really tough time, and I think it's important, as I begin my remarks to Budget 2026, that I ground myself in the realities of British Columbians, the realities of Canadians, and what all of us are facing and have faced over the course of the last year since Donald Trump came to office. It has been an honor and privilege, Madam Speaker, last year to join the Premier and many other ministers on this side of the House to take our message to the world. The Premier was just in India and also in Japan and South Korea and Singapore last year, India just a couple of weeks ago. And I had the opportunity, a true honor, to be able to represent the government of British Columbia, to be able to represent British Columbians on the largest forestry sector trade mission our province has ever had. Literally 50, 60 people that are fighting very hard alongside me to forge powerful partnerships. We visited Japan, we visited South Korea, and we're going to take more steps over the course of this year as part of the support that comes from Budget 2026 to be able to not only forge those powerful partnerships, but truly diversify. I want to ensure, Madam Speaker, that we, in the case of forestry, can diversify. We know the Americans are always going to rely on our lumber. We know that we are proud to help Americans build the homes they need. I've had conversations with state senators from California, in parts of California that were devastated by wildfires. Not only were we proud to be in California to fight alongside CAL FIRE with the BC Wildfire Service, we are going to be there to help them build the homes. But we know that the tax that Donald Trump has put on our softwood lumber is nothing but a tax on middle-class Americans. But it has been an honor for me, for the Premier, for the Minister of Jobs, and Minister responsible for trade, to be able to help shape the conversations around the world. When I was in Japan and South Korea, I heard loud and clear, whether it was from government, representatives, at the national, at the lower level when it comes to local governments or provincial levels about the uncertainty they see in the world. They are having the same conversations that we are having. They are looking for stable trading partners. They are looking for powerful partnerships that will last a lifetime. That is the same conversation we are having with our customers. And there is huge opportunities for us to diversify our trading relationships. And Budget 2026 is centered around ensuring that British Columbia is set up to compete against the world. But we also have to recognize, Madam Speaker, that as we compete, we're competing with others. When I was in Japan and then South Korea, the Russians were there just 2 weeks prior to me. And I'm sure the Germans were in just a couple of weeks after me. We are competing with the world when it comes to our forest products. We are competing with the world for LNG and all the other important natural resource sectors that we're proud to stand up for on this side of the House. But we have to recognize that this world has changed entirely in a year, and we're just keeping up with that change. I'm proud of the MOUs we've signed. I'm proud of the new Forestry Innovation Investment Office being supported by Budget 2026 in the UK. We see huge opportunity in the UK. When I was chatting with some officials, they shared with me loud and clear that British Columbia, are you here for the good times? Or are you here for the long times? The long time. And my message to them was our relationship with the United States has changed forever. I never want to see a forestry worker put in this position ever again. That means we have to diversify. That means we have to get back into those markets, the UK, Europe, UAE, North Africa. These were all markets that we had in the 90s and we lost over time when it just became easier to do work with the United States. Our relationship has changed forever. And that is the context of releasing Budget 2026 and focused on supporting our core programs, but also focused every single day on securing our future as a province. That is the message I heard on the doorstep in Langford Highlands, and that is the message that we are delivering with Budget 2026. We always say, and my predecessor, John Horgan, always said this. It gives me great pleasure to mention his words in this House because he's a man of great honor. Don't appreciate it when others mention it and take cheap shots, which a member from Kamloops Centre often does. But the mention of John Horgan, the immediate thing that comes to mind is his comments about what our competitive advantage is of our province. We are a beautiful province. We are filled with an abundance of natural resources. But what I heard on my trade mission to Japan and South Korea, what I have heard over the course of my time working in government, working as a minister, as an MLA, as a constituency assistant, all the roles that I've had, is our competitive advantage as a province is not just our resources. It's not the beauty of our province, the landscapes that I've had the opportunity to visit over the course of the last year, the communities that I've had an opportunity to visit over the course of the last year. It's our people. Budget 2026, just like every single budget that we have put forward as a government since 2017, has always been about putting people first and investing in people. And it's why, on this side of the House, we are making a generational investment in Budget 2026 in trades training. Over $200 million, nearly $250 million in trades training. I am the sibling of a Camosun College student who is participating in a trades training program, who is going off to do incredible things like setting up heating and cooling for people's homes. I think of the work that my little brother does working in the trades, and I think of the thousands of them, of folks like him in every corner of this province that will have an opportunity. The Premier and the Minister of Finance have shared in her speech the example of that Amazon worker who started off at a low wage and now is making, I think, over $150,000. And that is only possible when we invest in trades training. And the leadership that my colleague, the Minister of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills, has shown to bring this generational investment is only possible when we invest in our competitive advantage. And that is our people. We are investing in the future of British Columbia, those that work in construction, those that work in our trade sector, and making sure that they are with us to help build the infrastructure we need to be able to help support our growing community. When we're talking about Budget 2026, Madam Speaker, and talking about generational investments, it is so important for me to recognize a key investment in this budget for my community of Langford Highlands. an investment directly in Langford that impacts not only my community, but surrounding communities. In Budget 2026, we are investing nearly $220 million, to build a 2,000-seat new secondary school in North Langford, right across from Costco. This is a substantive investment. In fact, Madam Speaker, this is the largest investment, the largest public education investment in the Sault School District's history, $220 million to build a brand new high school for the people of Langford. Now, I got my start in politics outside of this House when those guys sat on this side of the House. And when those guys sat on this side of the House, we had to collect signatures on petitions. We had to walk out of school. We had to talk about asbestos in our walls, leaking into our water fountains. We didn't have to do any of that. We made the case. We see the growth. Langford has stepped up. Langford has stepped up and built the housing. And they need a new high school, and they deserve a new high school. And in Budget 2026, we are delivering a new secondary school for my community of Langford Highlands in North Langford. And this is a substantive investment. It builds on nearly $500 million that our government since 2017 has invested in the Sault School District. Nearly 5,000 seats, Madam Speaker, that we have invested as a government in the Sault School District to help support the future of Langford Highlands, to help support my colleague from Juan de Fuca Malahat, Esquimalt, Colwood, in that entire region. That is us investing in the future of British Columbia. I am so proud, and it builds on the new John Horgan campus, which just opened a short while ago, Madam Speaker, a substantive investment, an economic investment that provides post-secondary education, a first of its kind in Canada, where you have the Royal Roads University, the Justice Institute, Camosun College, the University of Victoria, and the Sault School District. 5 institutions, 5 incredible organizations, all in the same building, named under my dear friend John Horgan, the John Horgan campus, in addition to multiple schools. Again, 5,000 seats. Budget 2026 doesn't move away from that. It continues investing. I am proud to report for the House that I just had a conversation with the superintendent of the Sault School District. The request for proposal for architects is out. They have had dozens of requests for participation. I know they'll be making decisions very soon. But for those in Langford Highlands that are tuning in or will be seeing this later, I want you to know that construction is starting next year. Shovels will be in the ground soon. And we are excited that Budget 2026 delivers a brand new secondary school, which will be built on time and on budget for our community, opening in 2030. That is good news for the people of Langford Highlands. And the work doesn't stop there, Madam Speaker. One of the number one issues that I hear on the doorstep is healthcare, and ensuring that we have a healthcare system that supports our most vulnerable, a healthcare system that supports those that are aging in our community. For decades, my community of Langford Highlands and the entire West Shore region was told we don't deserve a long-term care facility, that we don't need that investment, that those investments should just happen in town. In Budget 2026, we continue the work towards delivering a long-term care facility for the community of the West Shore. Based in Colwood and Royal Bay, this is a substantive project. It is a project that has grown in size, recognizing the need and the growth that is happening in my community in that region. But Budget 2026 says it is important to continue proceeding with that investment. And that's not all. I had an opportunity just a few short days ago to be able to meet with Alyssa Andres from the South Island Primary Care Society. We have hired hundreds of doctors over the course of the last couple of years. Recruitment and retention was a challenge. I'm the former parliamentary secretary for international credentials. I lived over the course of the few months that I was in that role, the stories day by day of people coming here with incredible experiences, incredible credentials, only to be pushed aside. From the work that we've been doing in the UK in our advertising campaign, the work that we're doing in the United States to attract doctors and nurses and other allied healthcare workers, I am really proud to support a budget that helps deliver and support the South Island Primary Care Society and the work that they've done to recruit 10 new doctors for the community of Langford and the entire West Shore region, Madam Speaker. these are thousands of people that were on a list waiting for a doctor that every single day are getting a call from that clinic in downtown Langford saying it's your turn to have access to primary care. That is the work that we're doing on this side. There are those that believe we should cut in healthcare and education, and they've made their position known very clearly in their local papers. On this side of the House, we are going to continue investing in those core services of healthcare, of education, of mental health, all the supports and services that our communities talk to us about in our community offices every single day. South Island Primary Care Society, an incredible organization leading the way, many of the doctors coming from the UK, many of them coming from the United States, making their home in Langford, making their home in the West Shore, in the South Island, and now providing a quality service for the people in the West Shore. We have to talk about the challenges, Madam Speaker, but we also have to recognize the opportunities that Budget 2026 delivers, not only for the people of Langford Highlands, but for the people of British Columbia. We've been talking an awful lot over the course of the last year, but I would argue much longer, about economic growth. Economic growth delivers economic prosperity, and we're seeing that with major projects moving ahead. With LNG, the government that sat on this side of the House promised LNG, promised $1 billion fund to help pay for all the supports and services that British Columbians relied on, didn't deliver a single project. Not a single project. This is the government, the BC NDP government, led by our Premier, led by Premier Horgan, that has delivered 6 projects that are now either operational, under construction, or nearing final investment decision. 4 mines, or as the Minister of Mining, I think, reminded me last night, 5 new mines that have been approved just in the last few months. We've got great opportunities to drive forward on these major projects. Now, the major project that I'm focused on every day is forestry. Forestry is facing big challenges, and I've talked about the challenges earlier today in the House about record wildfires. We're preparing for another challenging wildfire season here in British Columbia. Last year was a calmer season for us in British Columbia, where we led the opportunity to be able to help support other provinces and territories. The second worst wildfire season in Canadian history, but a calmer season for British Columbia. But we know it's not just wildfires and Trump tariffs and duties that is impacting our forest sector. It's the low price of lumber. The price of lumber is below $500. That is substantive. The 2022 budget had an opportunity to pull that out that referenced nearly $1 billion in stumpage revenue. Do you know what the price of lumber is, Madam Speaker, from that time? Well over $800. The price of lumber has dropped over the course of the last year, and the futures show it hopefully getting up. I'll rely on the economists to help advise me in regards to where the price of lumber is going, but it's not just that. The actions that Donald Trump has taken in his own country, let alone the impact he's having on British Columbians and Canadians with his comments and his trade actions, he's completely destroyed the housing economy and affordability in the United States. The collapse of the U.S. housing market is almost to the levels of 2008, 2009, Madam Speaker. This is substantive. So when you've got low price of lumber and a complete collapse of the U.S. housing market, this speaks to big challenges for forestry. But again, where do we go from here? I made a commitment to forestry workers when I took on this job that I wanted to build for the next 100 years. I wanted to move us away from boom and bust to stability and certainty. We have faced an awful lot of challenges in forestry over the course of 2025. I think 2026 is going to be another challenging year for forestry just because of those options that I've laid out. We're working hard to increase fiber supply. We're working hard to modernize our mills, our reman facilities, our value-added manufacturing facilities. But Budget 2026 actually invests more in forestry. We have a stumpage deferral program that keeps the lights on. This is an exact ask coming from the industry. They need a little bit of help to keep the lights on. We are dealing with record duties and tariffs. What can we do as a province to help keep people working in communities across the province, including the member from Prince George Mackenzie? This is something that his community has asked for, and this is something that Budget 2026 delivers. Wildfire Equipment Trust Program, Risk Equipment Trust Program, $5 million. The Fire Smart funding, an extra $15 million to keep that program going as we undertake important work to review the whole suite of funding that program delivers. A new PST tax credit on machinery and processing, and the member opposite raised a slush fund, a $400 million strategic investment fund to take advantage of the hundreds of billions of dollars that the federal government is putting on the table. I think it is important for us as a province to put our hands up and say, yes, federal government, we want to see these investments here, and we are putting our money where our mouth is. And that is investing $400 million through our strategic investment fund in those projects. I could say a lot about the member from Kelowna, or from Kamloops Centre. Yesterday in the House, during his initial remarks, he said there was a $400 million cut from the Ministry of Forest budget. I was sitting here, and I'm sitting right behind the Minister of Finance, and I'm like, I don't know where he's getting those numbers. Like $400 million cut? Like what is he talking about? This is a member who's delivered 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, speeches as a critic. I'm sure he knows how to read a budget. What he does not recognize, when I went back to my office and actually pulled out the blue books and read the estimates, is he is factoring in that we spent nearly $1.3 million, in fact over $1.3 million as a ministry because of fires. And so he has conflated the baseline forecast for last year with our baseline budget. And if he actually does the math, instead of doing conservative math, he will actually see more dollars being invested in the Ministry of Forests in budget 2026. And the reason, Madam Speaker, that we are investing more money in budget 2026 is because of BC timber sales. BC timber sales has not been performing. Year over year, a 30% increase in sales in communities across the province. In the north alone, 50% increase in BCTS sales year over year. The reason we're investing more in budget 2026 in forestry is BC timber sales is starting to perform again. And we are going to continue making the investments in budget 2026 and in future budgets to ensure that BC timber sales can be that program of change, that program that continues to provide high-quality fibre to mills and communities all across the province. So to conflate a $400 million cut is just absolutely laughable, Madam Speaker. And I think it's something that I hope the member opposite will take the opportunity to apologize for. And again, the member opposite is the member for Kamloops Centre. He is the MLA for the headquarters of the BC Wildfire Service. If he has questions about the BC Wildfire Service and he doesn't want to ask me, literally go down the block and ask the incredible team at the BC Wildfire Service that is not only working day and night, every single day, not just during wildfire seasons, but right now, supporting communities like Tumbler Ridge, where they're up there supporting that community right now, but ask them about the work that they're doing in Australia right now. It wasn't just California that called the BC Wildfire Service for help. It was Australia as well that is supporting, that is having support from the BC Wildfire Service. Holy smokes, 30 minutes goes by quickly. Let me just conclude as I see a minute and a half left on the screen. I don't know if I get to be the designated speaker, but I think the Minister of Finance might have taken that role. But look, I'm going to end with just a couple of closing remarks, Madam Speaker. It is clear to me that we are going to hear over the course of the next number of days a real debate and discussion around the future of this province and where we go from here. And I'm glad the budget provides an opportunity for us to be able to have real, honest conversations around the future of British Columbia. It is clear to me that there is extreme and divisive natures, not just in our world, not just what's happening with the United States. There is extremism and division happening in British Columbia as well. And it is clear to me over the course of the last year and a half, sitting as a member of the Executive Council, that extremism and division is coming from the Conservative Party of British Columbia. I think the choice is clear, Madam Speaker. We can have calm, steady, and competent leadership from our Premier and our government, or you can have a Conservative Party that would focus every single day on pitting British Columbians against one another. That is the choice, Madam Speaker, that British Columbians are going to have. And as I get down to the last few seconds of my speech, what I will say is I will use every opportunity as a member of this House, as a Minister of Forests, as the MLA for Langford Highlands, to ensure that those Conservatives, filled with extremism, filled with division, that want to pit British Columbians against one another, I will work hard every day to ensure they never sit on this side of the House. Thanks very much.